and your families are safe. As in our home, our family are safe, and we're grateful to be where we are. And just want to say, if there's any educators on the line, thank you for everyone. Actually, everyone. Thank you for all that you are doing and the steps that you're taking to make sure that we can move forward for the sake of our children, all children. So welcome to anyone who is doing the call. And with that being said, whenever you are ready, Cindy, for roll call, you can just go ahead and take that.
Okay.
Lead.
Okay. Dr. Miriam Glamad, IT Acción. Did she come over?
I'm not sure that she came over, but I did see her on the other line.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
We can keep.
She's here.
Dr. Glamad, you're here? I think she is now. Okay.
Yes, it's been a while, but I'm here.
Okay. Jackie Calloway, Coalition for Black Student Achievement. Amanda Canetti, Compass. Rex Barnes, Compass. Bobby Howard Davis, Division of Blind Services. Suzanne Cordero, El Sol Jupiter. Kimberly Spiro, ESC Advisory Committee.
Present.
Carla Donaldson, ESC Advisory Committee. Reggie Durandis, For the Children.
Here.
Sue Davis King, Gold Coast Down Syndrome. Guatemalan Mayan Coalition, Suzanne, we're still waiting on her information. Maria Antuña, Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
Present.
Dr. Joaquin Garcia, Hispanic Education Coalition. Rachel Mondesir, West Palm Beach NAACP. I thought Rachel's not here? No. Okay. Marcia Guthrie, she's not here today. She wasn't going to make it. Palm Beach Human Rights Council. He's not here. He wasn't coming. Evelyn Vargas, Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce. Juan Pagan, Puerto Rican Chamber of Commerce.
Buenos días, presente.
LaTerrence Reed, Urban League of Palm Beach County. Carrie Whittle, FAU card.
She's not here, but I am. Robin Jones, FAU
Yes,
card.
ma'am. I was Robin Jones, FAU card.
Present.
Charmaine Paulsell, Palm Beach County Council of PTAs.
Present.
Cassandra Corbin Thaddeus, Palm Beach County PTAs. Mary Evans, Tri-Cities Education Council. Eddie Rhodes, Tri-Cities Education Council. Joseph Sanchez, Black Chamber of Commerce.
Present.
Okay, Ms. Charmaine, we're done. And it seems like everyone that was on the other meet is here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7. We have 8 committee members. And
Can you identify who's
I am so sorry. I'm going to mute for a second because they're doing announcements here at my school.
Okay, Mr. Perez, or if you can just nod. Cindy, do we have a quorum? I believe we needed 9 to have a quorum.
And Justice Pro.
We do not, Charmaine.
Okay, that is fine. We'll continue with the business, and we will table all voting matters until the next meeting. Mr. Perez or Mr. Marshall, if we can please identify who is the private caller on the call, or is that someone from the district, and so we can move forward.
The private caller is the public phone bridge. Sorry, Ray, I know you were about to answer. That's the phone bridge. So basically, that just represents anybody that's calling into that number that was advertised. That's how they are dialed in. That way, you don't see 20,000 numbers. Not that it's that many people, but you only see one number, and that number represents all the people that have dialed in from the public to listen into the meeting.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Ms. Charmaine, just real quick, we have someone that's listed as a private caller.
Yeah, that's what I was just describing. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Cynthia.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, so we have that there. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. So just thank you so much. Moving right along, so we won't be approving the August meeting minutes, but I did want to just address one thing that in all matters be going forward. I haven't decided where how I'm going to address my name, but my name has changed without the I. Legally, I have to take out the I unless I want to do a name change. So just to be consistent with all the changes that I'm doing on my end legally, I will be removing the I. So no need to ask me how to say my name. It's still Charmaine. But I will be removing the I just for consistency with all of my legal documents, and I am not stuck out of the country. So until further notices, I get a name change, I guess. Approve August minutes. I said we will not be approving August minutes. Updates from Assistant Superintendent of Professional Growth, Ms. Millen. Ms. Millen, we can't hear you. I believe you might be on mute.
Sorry. Good morning, everybody. Cindy, is it okay if I share my screen? Can someone just let me know if you can see that?
We can.
Perfect. All right, I will make this quick. Here are a few district updates. When I last spoke to you about the Racial Equity Institute and our annual drive to try to make sure we get a state grant that we always get, the $80,000, we've hit a little roadblock in the sense that there are new guidelines at the state. We asked for special approval considering the sensitivity of the topic. REI charges $5,000 a day, and that's a discounted price for our district due to the relationship and partnership with Dr. Robinson. And so even at the $5,000 discounted rate per day, the state is still sticking to their guidelines around, nope, we won't budge beyond $3,000 a day. So one or two things. The state has told us if you apply for the grant, basically we probably wouldn't get it because of the fact that REI charges $5,000 a day. Okay, so we kept the dates reserved with REI. We are now forced to search for another funding source for $80,000 to get the REI since the state guidelines have changed. As soon as we're currently looking for another funding source, and I think we may have found one. So I'll be able to give you hopefully good news come our next meeting. We're still working on it, but I just wanted to give you that update. So that part has changed. It's official now. The state did give us confirmation that they are sticking to the $3,000 per day for the consulting fee. That is going to be the cap, the limit. So I'll give you an update as soon as I get additional information on that. Just an update that we're continuing with the culture responsive teaching. The numbers are here on the screen. We're up to the 423 teachers that have voluntarily taken the course one. The feedback is still positive, lots of reflection going on. So that is ongoing all year, and I'll continue to give you updates. Of course, some of our registration slowed down just a little bit, just because of the fact that all the teachers are now well, most of the teachers are back in the classroom or back online teaching. So I'll keep you up to date on that, but that is going well. Remember, this is a track, one of 6 courses, and at the end of their tenure through these courses, they actually earn their culture responsive teaching seal from our district. And the same thing is here for our Equity Resource Center. That will be, the plan is to launch this at some point in October. So every member of the DDEC committee, of this committee, will be receiving a link so that you can preview the site on your own time. I know it's I could actually go in and show you different things, but I really want you to be able to manipulate it and provide feedback. So I will be sending everyone a link with the updated page that has all our changes on it. And if you could provide feedback, I will have Cindy send that out to everyone, hopefully in the next, as soon as we get the last few technical things that need to be changed on it, I'll send it out to you, and it will, of course, be for you to view and provide feedback. And the Culture Responsive Leadership track, that's the track that was created and designed for our school-based leaders and our district leaders. And so as of now, I think when I talked to you last, we had launched it and it was 2 days in and 85 leaders had registered or started taking their course 1. And now we've gone to the 202. So that will also be offered every month throughout the school year. And we actually post them on the last day of every month. So every employee that is looking to take something in October, for example, they will be able to log on the last day of September and see all the courses that are available for them in October. An update on the Wi-Fi, excuse me. I asked Mark Howard, Adam Miller, and IT team to just give me some information on where were we, how are we making progress on that. And regionals and instructional superintendents are still collecting information from their schools. So when a parent says, hey, I'm still not able to get on, or our child is reporting that they still don't have the resources at home, they're still reporting all of that. This is the plan from August through December that was provided for me. I think they had just done a presentation and shared this information out. So this along with this is the Wi-Fi part, but this is the update on the Chromebooks for all of our students to have move to one-on-one to ensure that everyone has every student has a Chromebook. As you know, when we went into our shutdown, I would say in March, not every child had a Chromebook. Every family was supposed to have a Chromebook. Well, even in that, we know that every child needs to have their own. So if I'm a mother or family of 4 students and it's only one Chromebook, that creates a problem. So the goal is for every student to be at the one-on-one status, and these are the dates in which they're projecting that will happen as they come in. Now, I just found out, I was in a meeting yesterday, and the shipments are coming in, but evidently China is holding a chip that all the Chromebooks are tied to, and that is holding things up. I didn't get any additional details on that, except for some of the shipments that have been secured. So I think Mike Berg, IT, and the team were able to secure them. However, some of the shipments are being held up. But this is the timeline they're shooting for. And as you can see, with the goal of all of our students being one-to-one once the shipments arrive. And as soon as they arrive, they do deploy them. They contact the families. They take them to the schools and everything. So hopefully by October's meeting, if all goes well and they get the shipments and the chip that China is holding, we will have our students with one-to-one. And as new students come in, they will receive their Chromebooks as well. So I'll keep you updated on that. And Cindy, I want to say just thank you to Cindy still hanging in with us. Cindy is now working at Polo Park She's still supporting us with our DDC work, our REI work, and actually taking care of payroll. So just wanted to provide you with an update. We're scheduled, I had to wait to get a waiver. So although Cindy gave ample notice that she will be going to Polo Park, we had to do a waiver. So therefore, the waiver committee had to approve the position being replaced, and a waiver was just approved. So interviews will be held on October 1st. But once again, thank you to Cindy for still hanging in here with us, even though she has already transitioned to her position at Polo Park. And we just ask that you continue to follow us on Twitter for our latest updates. And that's pretty much it for the district updates.
Thank you, Ms. Millen. Does anyone have any questions? I know I have a few questions for Ms. Millen. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, this is Joe. I just saw on the district website that the Dolphins donated $100,000 for to help close the digital divide. That's great news.
Yes, and I think there's another major donation. So yes, that is definitely one of them. And I think I don't want to misquote, but I think they just had a meeting. I want to say yesterday when Mark was giving the slides, they were making another announcement as well. So yes, we're getting a lot of support around that, especially for even if they get the Chromebooks, the Wi-Fi. So I think Florida Power and Light is going to do something with us. Don't quote me on that. It might, or maybe it's not Florida Power. It's another major organization. So yes, that is good news. Yes.
I have a question for Ms. Millen. In your presentation, you mentioned that for the leadership training regarding equity and diversity, it's 85 leaders enrolled. Who are these leaders? Are they mostly principals? Who are they?
So it was 85 within 2 days. So that when I last reported to you, remember it was just 85, but we had just launched it, right? Well, it went up to 202. So that was update, but it's district employees. So it is school-based leaders. So everybody from your principals, your assistant principals at the school-based level, your coaches, everyone in leadership that is supporting teachers. That's basically everybody that's not in the classroom, that is actually not teaching kids, because the teaching, anybody teaching children and supporting the teachers of children are taking the culture responsive teaching track. So district-wise, that's everybody. Anybody that is in a leadership role is for everybody. So we're actually about to try to find a way for bus drivers to be able to, because anybody can take it now, but I know, for example, bus drivers, they come in contact with kids, they're not teaching them, but that's the first point of contact for most kids when they get on the bus, right, for their day. So even they can register, custodians, everyone. So anyone that is not physically in the classroom teaching children every day, that won't be taking the culture responsive teaching track, can take the culture responsive leadership track. So that will cover our entire district.
One more question. When it comes to guidance counselor, would they be in the teaching track or would they be in the other track?
And so we debated that. So what we did is, for example, here in our district, a guidance counselor is in the teaching track, but we are doing it so that they can also, because they're leaders, they're advising, so they can also do both. We have a little gray area in that case, and that's a prime example of one. But we don't want to block them, because they're really the strategies that are being used in regard to making sure no matter what child walks in the door, that we are responsive to whatever their needs are. They fall in both. They fall in the leadership part because they are leading, but they are listed as teachers. So they have the luxury of both. But most of them will most likely go the teaching route because of the fact that they're supporting teachers and students. Yeah, and we've had several counselors in the teaching track.
Okay. Are we looking for, maybe in the future, looking to create something that is really kind of maybe in between, but for guidance counselors? Like, I'll give you an example personal to me. My son is a senior at Suncoast. And as much as we want to believe it, guidance counselors from elementary to middle to high school holds a key position, even though we haven't used them in that kind of position, to lead our child, to encourage them, to help them choose the right track in order for them to succeed eventually. And I find that a lot of time the guidance counselors are not, either they're ill prepared or just don't care. And being a vocal parent, I basically had to be in their face most of the time, making sure they are doing what is right for my child. You know, not taking no for an answer if I know what my child needs. But of course, not all parents, especially our minority parents, our Black parents, are not all able to have the time to. So I really want to see that there's something done for these advisors, people that are really helping kids to into choice program, because still there's an inequity in the choice program. There's still a very big inequity. It's very few students that can get into Bach. Very few can get in Dreyfus. Very few can get in Suncoast, or those schools that are really, that we know that have, that can lead them to, good choice program. Because a lot of time they have roadblocks that a lot of time are being created by guidance counselor, whether they know it or not, that those kids don't have the opportunity. So I think we need to look into something so that they can understand how important they are in a child's life.
And so everything that you just described is on the culture responsive teaching portion side. And we've had, a matter of fact, I'm going to go in and find out the breakout, because I haven't broken out how many have registered that are actually teachers in the classroom versus support outside of the classroom. Everything you just described is embedded in the CRT course, literally. So I'll send you, I'm writing myself a note, I'll send you the flyer so you can see the courses, because everything that a lot of what you described has everything to do with how we see kids around our explicit biases. And so that was built in on purpose for exactly what you're describing. So yes, I will monitor the breakdown of which groups of work groups, employee groups that are registering for the courses. But yes, and we have principals that are strongly encouraging. I mean, literally, their teams to take the courses. And so I will monitor that. But everything you described has everything to do with a lot of explicit and implicit biases. And so that is embedded in there. I really, yes. Okay. I was going to say, I really would like to send you the flyer so that you can see or have a time for you to talk to Ms. Starks in regards to what was designed for the courses. And it explains, once you hear the description of what they actually go through in each of these courses, because they're full day, I think you'll have a better understanding of what's offered in there. But also, then we need to encourage more counselors to take that course. But we have principals that are on it. They are enrolling having their entire teams enrolled. So we're working. It's embedded in the course.
Ms. Millen, I was just going to add that we will have Ms. Starks with us next month, so we can reserve some of those questions and prepare for those questions for Ms. Starks on what exactly that culture responsive, what those modules and those courses have to offer. And perhaps she can bring us that breakdown. You as well, your team can certainly bring us those breakdowns of teachers versus school support staff, who's attended those courses. The question that I have was, I just wanted to confirm, the courses or these modules just recently launched. So that's okay. So I see you nodding. That's correct. So with the 423, no one have attended the courses. These are all just registered. No one have attended.
No. So they're offered No. They've already been taking the courses.
Okay. So it's registered. So out of the 423, all have taken the courses.
That is so anyone who registered or took the course. It's from July when it launched, because we were supposed to launch in March, but COVID hit and we went, So July to now, that is literally all the people that have registered and or taken. And the reason I say and or taken is because October is not over yet. So everybody that has taken the course up until, for example, right now she's doing a course up to September 24th. I was giving you the whole picture through October. So anybody beyond.
A total of 423 teachers have registered for the course between July and October, and 202 leaders have registered for the course, the respective course, Let's Talk Courageously, from July to October. Can we also get a breakdown of how many have registered and how many have actually attended? Because just like RI, we have so many people that register, but not everyone gets opportunity to attend.
Yes, I can do that. So everyone up until September 24th, minus the ones that are taking it today, I can get those numbers because those are already passed and they have taken. Yes.
Perfect. And then so since we've just started in July up until October, that would probably answer my other question. No one have taken any of the other module 2 through 6 or 2 through whatever it is for the leaders, correct?
That's correct. No one. This is all course 1 right now.
Okay. And then my last question that I had was with respect to digital inclusion. If I heard Mr. Sanchez correctly, he said that Miami Dolphins had donated $100,000 towards the digital inclusion. But how many students as of today are currently missing devices? Do we have that number?
The regionals, instructionals, and Keith Oswald, Mark Howard has those numbers.
Okay, is there any way we could just get those emailed at the conclusion of the meeting or at some point? Just how many students have not received the devices? Also, a number that I think I'm interested in is how many students have not participated in virtual learning up until this point. So that's another question, but we can get those later.
Well, I can give you the numbers of our enrollment is down by approximately 5,000-ish students in regard to that. And then the numbers that were reported recently for the students that are we've started reporting back face-to-face, in-person teaching and learning. So I can get you the number of the students that are face-to-face and in teaching and learning versus the number of kids or parents that said, no, I'm going to keep my child currently online. Is that what, I want to make sure I'm writing this down right. Is that what you're asking?
More so how many students are not able to adequately participate in virtual or digital learning because of not having a device.
Yeah, I wrote that one down. Yes. Okay.
That was what I was so more interested in. And then, I did have one. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I'll actually send an email message real quick. Maybe I can get it by the end of this meeting to Mark Howard.
And then the last thing I just needed, it was more so clarification. You mentioned that REI charges $5,000 per day, and the state guidelines have changed to $3,000. Are they refusing to give any grants at all? That's why we're searching for that $80,000, or are they only capping it at $3,000 per day?
The new state guidelines, they're saying that they're not approving any grant coming out of the state under the title funds that we're applying for, because we got this every year, right? This year, there's a new person there, and she's not budgeting on $3,000 per day. So, for example, because that's the source that we've always used, we tried to go back and say, hey, we've been getting this grant, we've been doing good by the grant. It's great work and it's much needed right now. But I noticed that the guidelines are $5,000. Could you please, due to the fact that the vendor is already giving us a discount from the $6,000 a day to $5,000, could we continue this work and can we continue to get this grant? The And the reply back to us was, no, it will be deemed unreasonable cost because it's beyond the 3,000. And they stated you can, there's a chance we could get the grant, but we would have to ask REI to give us additional sessions so it balances out to only be $3,000 a day. We can't ask REI to give us more of a discount than we're already given. So basically, the state basically said, we're not budging on the 3,000, bring it down to 3,000, and then you can submit and we can consider giving you the 80,000.
I guess the clarification I'm trying to get is, are they giving you any funds? Even if you say 3,000, give us the 3,000 and we'll make up the other 2,000. Are they giving you any funds at all?
No, because if you apply no, when you apply for the grant, you have to tell them what you're going to use it for. So we tell them, we tell them we're using it for REI, but REI's vendor paperwork says 5,000. So they're basically saying you can apply for the grant, you just can't use them to do that work because it's 5,000 and the paperwork reflect that.
And who is this state or who is this person that's giving us the grant? I'm interested. I mean, just for curiosity.
Nicole in federal programs has the contact for the person she submits all of our grants to, and I can get that information and send it to you, Charmaine, from Nicole. I don't know her name directly. Nicole.
I don't mean to be political, but to what extent does the two proclamations that were made by the head of the federal administration regarding this type of training, how much is that impacting their decision, I wonder?
I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. When someone asks a question, please remember to mute your mic because there's a lot of feedback. So like Charmaine, if you ask a question, or Ms. Millen or anybody, just please be sure after you ask the question and to hear the answer, just mute yourself because there's just a lot of feedback going on. Sorry.
No problem. Did you understand my question?
Yes, and I don't know the answer or how much that is influencing it at all.
Have you been looking to other funders, like local, like Quantum Foundation?
Yes, we've already, once we just got the information, actually a few days ago, and we've started. I think I might have found a source. I just have to find out what are the, what do you call it, guidelines for how it's used. But yes, we've already started looking for an additional source because the state, for that grant, is not going to budge on it. So yes, we're looking.
Miss Kimberly, can you, what was your question again? I caught a piece of it, but wasn't quite sure what you said.
Basically, there have been two announcements by the president that federal agencies and federal contractors are not allowed to have this type of training anymore, and that federal funds can't be used for it. So I wanted to know to what extent that decision and that guidelines, especially since when he makes a proclamation on a certain subject like opening schools, then Florida follows suit and does exactly what, whatever it is that he wants. I'm just wondering how much that is impacting the decision to not fund it.
Well, they will fund it. They will only fund it at 3,000. So they no longer fund it, but maybe that's the cap. Maybe that's why. I don't know. I just know they will fund it. It's just that the vendor's price is more than what they've now brought their price down to.
The vendor we chose, though, is highly regarded and kind of the gold standard. So I'm just wondering if they're trying to make it impossible to do a good job.
Thank you for the clarification, Kimberly. I thought that's what you were saying, but you threw me off with the word federal administration. So I just was like, I thought it was action agency, but I got it. Moving right along. Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Millen. Was there any other questions, comments, or acts to Ms. Millen? at this time? If not, we can go ahead right on to committee discussion. It is 10 o'clock and we can kind of catch up a little bit. Hearing none, we'll move right into community discussion. So homework last month, everyone received unless you have it, Miss Cindy, is there any way that I can share my screen? But homework last month was to bring back some suggestions for job descriptions for chief equity. We just want to make sure that we are not letting that particular topic be lost in translation. As we are going to also, I'm going to just throw that out in here, which is going to come right under unfinished business. So everything with committee discussion is going to kind of come all together. Items to consider for the next meeting, unfinished business, and chief equity officer. So we don't want a description. We don't want to forget about that. We also don't want to forget about our matrix, because that is something that we are leading with. For the new people, we'll discuss that under unfinished business. If we'll try to get through it and discuss that quickly with unfinished business. But we just want to make sure that, because I feel like we're back to the square one where it's a lot of content in this committee and we're not focused on our matrix and what we're supposed to be focusing on. Because at this time, we're in unprecedented times, walking in uncharted waters. So everything is kind of like being thrown at us on what to examine each meeting. So let's not lose focus on our top priorities in this meeting that we discussed that we would be focusing on. So Chief Equity Officer job description. Did anyone have the opportunity to complete that or assist with that? I will share my screen. Let me just make sure there is nothing inappropriate on my screen. Just kidding. So Cindy, is there any way that I can share my screen and I can share this is work. I can certainly share exactly, or I can send it to Cindy. If you can share it on your end. I don't see Cindy, I see her. You can share it on your end.
On the bottom of your screen where you can mute and all that, you don't see present now to the right?
Oh, perfect. I see it. Yes.
Okay, cool.
Close, and I'll just open both. All right, you guys tell me if you see anything crazy on my screen.
When you hit present, you have to pick the screen, like entire screen.
I see it. I'm just deleting some confidential matters off of my time.
Okay.
From work, so I just want to make sure that it's not. Okay. Share. So do you see what I'm presenting? Do you see the job descriptions?
It was coming up and then it stopped.
Yes.
Do you see both job descriptions on my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I gotta do something different because this is just not working. I'm a little OCD and that's just crazy. Okay, so this currently is, do you see both of them side by side?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the Assistant Superintendent of Student Equity and Access, correct me if I'm wrong at any time, Ms. Millen, would be the job description for Mr. Ruiz, a formal equity, the face of equity in Palm Beach County. What I went ahead and did was, there was, based on the job descriptions that we all were sent, there was probably about 10 of them. Thank you, Ms. Millen. I think Ms. Buckley sent one or two, and I know I sent a couple. Based on that, I picked and choose. When you look at this Dr. Ruiz job description, I am not going to insult your intelligence because I assume you all read this. Here's what I personally take from it. It was my opinion that Dr. Ruiz's job description was to fix a drug, violence, and safety issue. If you read through all the essential functions of his job description, you would see, everything alludes to evaluation of drug and violence, management and conflict resolution, alcohol, tobacco, and drug prevention, discipline and coding. It kind of all alluded to there was an issue with drugs, violence, and not necessarily equity. And actually, you don't even see the word equity, racial, because, that plays a big role in equity. You don't see that throughout the content of this essential functions here. So when I looked at all of the other job descriptions that was sent to us from other, whether it was Seminole County, Broward County, UCF, another organization, one thing that I saw was completely different was throughout their actual essential functions, you read the word equity, you read the word racial equity, you read the word inclusion. They talked about the things that aligns with that word equity. So that was kind of surprising to me to see the essential function. And I don't know if anyone else noticed that, or if maybe I'm reading it a little sideways. I'm not sure. So what I went and did, and I didn't see a purpose. So I took a couple of things. Everything that is highlighted is something that was added into it. And what you will notice, please reflect for the minutes, Amanda Canete, I think it is joining the call. Cindy from...
Got it. She's from Compass.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if you noticed that. What I did was just added a job description. Now, this is nothing that is set in stone. These are not my words. It's pretty much plagiarism, but I just wanted to get the information from the different organizations, bring them back to you guys and see how it works for our district, because these are all different things that I read. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. We should be looking at something like this, but this might not necessarily be something that aligns with this district. And I don't work for the district. So I'm bringing this to you. There are some things that I chose to write the words in. There are some things that are verbatim from another organization. So I just wanted to just add these things in and kind of give us as a team the opportunity to review this job description. Again, there was no purpose, but I really liked this particular purpose. It spoke to anti-racist multicultural organization. It spoke to equity. It spoke to racial equity. It just spoke to a lot to me. It spoke to systemic barriers being removed. So I guess at this point, it's like I shut up and what do you guys think about this? Or we can go line to line. And I also included that this job reports to the superintendent. And some of the content that I added was also keeping in mind what we discussed in previous meetings as a team. So any thoughts? Go at it. I'm going to shut up and mute at this time.
So this is Judd, the question, and forgive me if I should know the answer to this question, but did we get the job description that Superintendent Fenoy submitted that was not approved? Was that already submitted? Was that distributed to us already?
So yes, that was. There was two, but honestly, I looked at those job descriptions and I dismissed them. This is just me. I'm one person with one voice. I kind of dismissed them. The only reason that was to be was because they were not job descriptions that alluded to a chief equity position, but they were actually, I know I printed them. They were job descriptions that were for chief of support and supervision, school support and supervision. And the other one was chief of student services, wellness and equity. It was not necessarily a job description for a chief of equity department, but if it, I guess the one that would really go closest to what we're looking for would be the student services, wellness, and equity. If you want me to, I can pull that one up as well, Mr. Sanchez.
That's fine. I take your word for it. You obviously done a lot of work on it, so I'm happy working with the document that you provided. Use as a reference point.
So I'm going to pull this one up because honestly, I really did dismiss it, and I'm going to look quickly reviewing it. There are some things that are on here that we can take those words and we can literally move them into what I have added here. And it kind of like one of them was provide vision and leadership for district-wide implementation and administration for the priorities of student services, support, wellness, equity, access, and multifaceted support environment for student mental health, behavior, social, emotional, physical health, and wellness. Again, the reason I dismissed it in its entirety, I guess, was because the job description for whoever is going to be in this was not to go beyond the students. It was to go through the district as a whole and to be beyond just the students. This particular job description focused on just students, or equity issues focused on just students. So that's kind of why, me personally, I dismissed it.
Actually, Charmaine, I've glanced to it before, and now I'm reading it more thoroughly. I think it's really well done. Because when it comes to essential functions, I think it's measurable when you're reading the content that you added, and it can be measured. Because a lot of time with job description, it is so general and so I would say philosophical that you cannot measure what exactly this person is doing. But in this one, I can see exactly how they're going to be working with professional development team, different ways with students and everything like that, that it can be measured. Because it's really nice to have a job description, but if you cannot measure that the person is doing what they're supposed to be doing, it doesn't mean much. So I think it's really well done.
This is George. I'm not sure if we're going to get through this today, but if we don't, I would suggest that we have maybe a subcommittee. I don't know if we can meet or not, but just focus on getting it done. Because obviously job descriptions require a lot of wordsmithing and stuff like that. And I'm not sure we want to take up the entire committee's time to try to do.
I'm happy to serve on the committee. I admit I have a migraine today, so I can't even read. But I'm happy to help on another day. I have a lot of experience wordsmithing, and I do feel this is important. I'm just not able to contribute the way I want to at the moment.
We can, for the sake of time also, because we are cut on our time due to the delay this morning anyways, but I will share this assistant superintendent student wellness job description, which Ms. Millen and Ms. Cindy, I will give it to them. They did share, but just an email specifically with these documents. And we can form a subcommittee. This is out of my realm, might be legal, or Cindy, you let me, or Ms. Millen, you let me know if I'm out of my realm. We do not have a quorum, or do we have a quorum now, Cindy? Or do we need a quorum in order to establish a subcommittee? I'll take out my Robert's Rule of Order and confirm, but I'm not 100% sure on that one.
I think with Amanda Canetti on the meeting, I believe we now do have 9 members.
And I think the chair can establish committees, at will. I'm not 100% sure, but that's typically the case.
Yes, there was a subcommittee already created the one time when we had to meet to do the work around looking at the different policies. So we had one subcommittee already. I'm sure there can be another subcommittee. We just have to follow the meeting guidelines that were provided to us by Bruce Harris, who's an attorney in the legal department.
Okay, so it doesn't say anything that there's I just want to make sure, because I'm not hip with the whole Sunshine State law. I'm hip with nonprofit laws, but nonprofit policies and procedures, just not, I just don't want to be out of my realm with Sunshine State. What if we go ahead and solicit members for this subcommittee, and then if we are out of our realm, we just get a slap in our hands later, but just confirm that we're in realm to do what we're supposed to do, Ms. Millen, with legal. But other than that, I don't see an issue with moving forward with a subcommittee. So, Mr. Sanchez, as you suggested a subcommittee, would you object to being a subcommittee leader on this matter?
Well, I suggested a subcommittee because I'm interested in a different subcommittee, and I'd like to spend some time talking about that later, but when it gets to the agenda. So I decline. So I can focus.
So we can go ahead and discuss a subcommittee with the job description. And I know Ms. Kimberly is interested. I will certainly serve on that subcommittee. As the chair, Ms. Glamad?
Yes.
Okay. Let me just write this down. I can have all the words come out of my mouth, but when it's written down, English is not my first language, and learning English was never my first language. So you don't want me as the person writing anything. Kimberly. Dr. Glamad. Do we have any other input? Ms. Millen, can I ask that you be present at the subcommittee meetings at bare minimum, just to assist us with anything that might not be in the realms of the district, or if we have any questions? Okay.
Yes, that's fine. We also probably need, yes, that's fine.
Okay. Is there any other? So we have three members of this subcommittee regarding the Chief Equity Officer position and a staff member. Did anyone have any questions regarding the job description? Or did you have any input of what we should be adding in addition to, we have the essential functions, we have the performance effectiveness criteria, we have the additional job descriptions, especially in the area of performance effectiveness. I don't think I touched on that. I was more focused on the meat and potatoes of the functions that they will be doing, and kind of keeping it consistent with other job descriptions with respect to the minimum years of professional experience. Hearing none.
I just have one comment, if I may.
Absolutely.
So I noticed, Pete Stewart, I'm a part of the Office of African American, Latino, Gender, and Holocaust Studies. And I notice in some places under the performance responsibilities, it looks like it moves back and forth between talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and then specifically So, for example, in number 13, represent the superintendent and district leaders in various community interactions for the purpose of acting as an agency spokesperson for issues of racial equity. And I just kind of think, unless you're going to add another one that is specific, it should just be equity, because, you know, we've got to include LGBT equity, which is specifically what I work with. You know, I understand changing it up so we're not saying diversity, equity, and inclusion for each of these numbers. But if this person is representing the superintendent and district leadership for racial equity, it really should be for equity.
Thank you. Again, as I said, some of these are verbatim from other organizations. Some of them are shifted around. I did not do all of the meat and potatoes. I just brought it to the committee so we can take a look at that.
Absolutely, yes.
I would certainly take this back to the committee. And we will discuss this in length and bring it back by the next meeting for everyone. Let me just write that down because I will forget. Racial. And is that throughout the document, Mr. Stewart?
Yeah, just to make sure that the person in the position, certainly right now we're discussing a lot about racial equity and anti-racist curriculum and so forth, particularly with the disgusting decision that came out yesterday. But I want to make sure that this person is representing all aspects of equity, of course, in accordance with our equity and diversity policy, as well as the equity and diversity and equity committee policy that we have in place.
Oh, I can't type today. Aspect of equity. I know what this means to me, but that makes sense. May not make sense to you. So I'll keep that, we'll keep that in mind. Kimberly, Dr. Glamad, and Ms. Millen, if we could take just a quick few minutes and just review your calendars and see if there's any way that we can meet soon, maybe the next week or so.
No, we have to go through the same guidelines for being posted. So Cindy could tell us how far in advance we have to post it because it's a public meeting, and then if you give me that time frame, we can look. Cindy, how many days do you have to post it ahead of time? Is it a week? It might be a week.
It's a week, but what we do is to be on the safe side, 7 days, 7 business days or 10.
So after you post it, it has to be posted for how many days? 7 to 10 business days?
7, the minimum.
7 is the minimum. Okay, so within a week. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So Charmaine, if you want to throw out some dates, I can look.
Since we meet on Thursday morning is always good for me. So when you're looking at dates, it's a time that I don't have any patience.
Yeah, and Charmaine, we have to make sure 7 days posted is an agenda.
Hello. I'm taking a look right.
Is the 8th possible?
The 8th I have available.
So do I.
In the morning.
I'm available as well on the 8th in the morning.
Okay. What about October 8th? Say, is 9 o'clock okay, or for everyone?
Yes.
Okay. And then I will send you an agenda, Cindy, today by the end of this call.
Yes, ma'am.
And Cindy, will you go ahead and send us calendar invites just to hold it on our calendar so we won't book it?
I'm sorry. What was that, Ms. Millen?
I was just going to say, could you send the subcommittee members a calendar invite for that time so it'll be blocked off on our calendars?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's out of the way. Perfect. Cindy, you can stop. I can stop sharing my screen. Was there any other questions before I stop sharing my screen? Did anyone need to see anything else with respect to the job description? Hearing none, I've stopped sharing my screen. Thank you, Ms. Millen. I received your comment. And the next order of business is unfinished business. It's actually under committee discussion work. Unfinished business is, I should continue sharing my screen. Can you stop sharing your screen, Cindy, and I will share my screen quickly. I'm sorry. Do we have any other unfinished business other than the matrix? While I pull up the matrix. Bear with me, I'm so sorry. No, it's not the matrix. I have no idea what I did with it. 220. Okay, I found it. You see my screen at all? No. All right, do you see the matrix? Okay. All right, I don't hear anyone. Do you all see the matrix at all?
We did, but not now. Oh, now we do.
Okay, so for those that are new, this is the equity policy matrix data to track. The last time we addressed this matrix was back in February when we discussed the areas of interest that we would be focusing on. So these were some of the areas of focus. We can certainly send these matrix back out. And the other thing that we addressed was the equity policy section. So what we went through, what we completed was we went through the equity policy and we identified which policy matched with which areas of interest. And where I said, let's not lose focus of the matrix, this is what I'm referring to. This is what what was our original intent at the beginning of last year and throughout the year, what we were focused on, or throughout the last session of DDEC. So just don't want us to lose focus on the equity policy matrix, and that is what we're tasked to do. So this is the equity policy, and that's where we stand. I do want to bring that back. I do want us to keep an eye on this matrix and see what we need to maybe pick a couple of things at a time and focus on it. Focus on them, identify the source of data, what action items are necessary or needed, if there are any, and any evaluation dates of some sort. I will send this to Cindy again so that she can also send to all committee members, because we do have some new committee members or alternatives that have joined us. Anyone have any questions? I'm going to mute now.
I don't have any questions now, but I might once I review the matrix. So.
Thank you. So again, I'll send this out and we can revisit the matrix, or you can just send in any questions or any comments that you may have regarding the matrix through Cindy, so that we can address in a timely manner at the next meeting. Any other unfinished business? Hearing none. Items to consider for the next meeting. We did not have a report, and I will say that it is, now I'm done Cindy presenting. It was solely my fault that we did not, because I did do 2 recordings at the last meeting and assumed that they would play a recording for DDEC and my personal recording for the superintendent chaos that it had ensued. When I declined to have the recording and instead attend the meeting, they were canceled out. The recordings were void, and I totally did not remind Ms. Bass that there was a recording for DDEC as well. So with that being said, the recording never played, so I will report everything from last meeting up until this meeting at the next school board meeting. So I apologize. It was my fault. And I take ownership of not effectively communicating what needed to be deleted and what needed to move forward. Okay. Our next meeting, you can share your screen, Miss Cindy. Our next meeting is scheduled for October 22nd.
I have a couple items.
Quite yet, but I just wanted to make sure. Yes, so it would be after the next board meeting. You had a question, Mr. Jess?
Yeah, I seem to be doing more talking than normal, but one is one. I mentioned that I'm interested in the subcommittee if the chair would allow it. I noticed that there are several chamber representatives on this committee, Hispanic chamber and other chambers, and I represent the Black chamber, and of course I'm interested in everything that we're talking about and everything that's in the policy, but I have a specific charge from the folks who assigned me to this from the Black chamber to focus on the business aspects, and we really interested in how the district spends money with minority businesses. So I'm interested in if there's others interested in forming a subcommittee specifically on the business issues, because there's as far as I know, there is no other advisory committee that is holding the district accountable in terms of its disparity study and how it spends its money with minority businesses. And I'd like and I believe that's part of our charge, I'd like for us to have a subcommittee that's focused on that particular issue to make sure that we're looking at those issues and bring them back to our respective chambers or wherever that we might, and I'm speaking for myself, and helping the district meet its goals. So if that's one issue that I'd like to discuss. I got a couple of other issues as well.
I think that's a great idea. I fully support it. I think we come together and respectively, each of us come together with different, you have ESC, you have parents, you have businesses, and kind of having that subcommittee to focus solely on businesses. I think it's a great idea, and I think it's something that could be beneficial that subcommittee then bring back to the committee, and we all can work towards whatever it is we need to work towards. I think it's a great idea. I support it.
Charmaine, this is Reggie. I have a question. I love the idea of having somebody come in to give us a presentation from the procurement department so that we are all aware how the system goes, and thereafter create a committee to adjust what Mr. Sanchez just alluded to.
And I think that is, correct me if I'm wrong, Vicki Sykes' department. Would you need her to be a part of that?
That's correct.
What you're referring?
Yeah.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, that was what I was going to bring. Vicki Sykes is the one who runs the business department for contracting, subcontracting, and you have 60% of the budget goes to construction, 40% goes to other part of businesses. And as a matter of fact, on Friday, as part of the Hispanic Heritage Month, it's a huge presentation starting at 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock about for all the businesses and so forth. And it's going to be transmitted, and a new elected board member is going to be part of one of the speakers at that presentation. So he's going to be taking part. So Vicki Sky's department is the one who really runs the business part, and this one, yes, I like your idea, don't get me wrong, but this is about education, integration, inclusion. So this department, I say, a little bit different than the business, even though, yes, I do run the Puerto Rican Hispanic Chamber and the Federal Hispanic American Chamber for the state, but it is about how can we get that education and communication to our members and the parents of the kids who attend our schools. So it is vital. I like the idea. Thank you.
Yes, I hear all aspects, but I do think that our committee is so, not only is it important, but we are being pulled in many different directions when we come to, when we hear the word equity, when we're tasked with district diversity, equity, and pretty much access as well. So when we're trying to define what is going on in every aspect, I really support that the small group engagements, the small subcommittees, getting that information, them giving that presentation. Honestly, I'll be honest, I'm presentationed out. I am presentationed, I'm Zoomed fatigued, I'm presentation fatigued. I am burnt out with the amount of presentations that we have received in from AAC to DDEC to ABC and all the other X, Y, and Z committees. And quite frankly, sometimes you have a presentation, you have no idea what you're talking about because that is not something you are tasked with. That is not your arena. That is not your expertise. So you may not be interested in something that's in the business arena, but you may be interested in something that's in the ESC arena. So having that subcommittee and allowing them to bring that information based on their expertise, based on their knowledge, bring it to the committee in a layman's term, I think it makes the committee work flows a little better, and it will make the committee work just more effectively on our end goal of equity as a whole. Does that make sense?
And also, Charmaine, it helps people stay engaged because if they're doing something within their expertise area, it definitely, and equity is throughout from top to bottom, and that includes business also. I'm interested to getting data. I don't know much about businesses, but getting data as to the businesses that the district is currently having business with, such as the percentage of minorities, percentage of if it's African American owned businesses, Hispanic owned businesses, so that we have an idea. We know what we're dealing with. We have the cards right in front of us.
So now that we have established that this is a great thing, who's willing to serve on this committee? with Mr. Sanchez. Now, Mr. Sanchez, you're part of the Black Chambers, and you cannot decline this invitation to chair this committee.
I'm in.
Okay.
Good morning, Ms. Charmaine. This is Maria Antuna with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And I would be honored to serve with Mr. Sanchez on the committee. One of the things that if we move forward with this committee, which it looks like we are, we should look at businesses as a whole, not just because they're businesses, but also the impact that they play in the actual equity and diversity and equity committee we have. There is quite an interaction that I think that piece of the pie is missing. And because they can and do currently play a role, I don't think that it's probably been uncovered by this committee. So I think it's very important to Mr. Sanchez's point that we bring businesses in and that there is a conversation with them. And we're also part of the event coming up as well as the Puerto Rican Chamber. And Ms. Sykes, she does run the business side of it all, but I think we're talking about two different entities here, but I think they can both be combined and we can gain from both sides. She focuses mainly on businesses where we're trying to focus on a different mission, but I don't see why those missions can't be combined and we can be successful together.
Thank you, Ms. Antuna. I need one more person to serve on that committee, committee of 3 or more. Mr. Pagan, Juan Pagan.
That's right, I'm there. Presente.
Okay, so your committee has started. Mr. Sanchez, you have Ms. Maria Antuna, Pagan, and Mr. Sanchez as the leader of that subcommittee. Our committee is meeting October 8th. Did you guys want to take a quick look and see when you can meet? Keeping in mind the 7-day notice and then an agenda that need to be forward. Let's say within the next 24 to 48 hours to Miss Cindy, or she will be coming after you.
Now, also, would you add Dickie Sykes to that committee, or do you all not? I didn't hear her name. Is she supposed to be on that?
Sorry, I did. I have here Vicky Sykes as the staffer. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Once a date is set, I will send it to Dickie to see her availability too. So now that we've established the committee, I could just email her real quick if you have a date.
We're going to just be proactive right now and establish a date for that staff committee. Mr. Sanchez is the lead, so he's going to take a look at his calendar and just throw out a couple of dates for him, for his team.
How about October 9th at 9 o'clock?
That works for me, Maria Antuna.
Let me take a look at my calendar. 9 o'clock, that works for me. October 9th, right?
October 9th at 9 o'clock, it's Friday. Yes.
Perfect. Is it going to be virtual or it's going to be in person?
It'll be virtual again.
Virtual. Okay, perfect.
Ms. Charmaine, what is this subcommittee going to be called?
So the first subcommittee is Chief Equity Officer job description. I guess that's it. And since Mr. Sanchez, you're the lead, why don't you name your subcommittee name?
All right. How about the Business Diversity and Equity Subcommittee?
Got it.
Perfect. Are there any other unfinished business, or there was another thing that you had, Mr. Sanchez? I believe that you had two things.
Yeah, just real quick. I don't know there's a point on there for announcements, but or anything. But there's two things. One is anything on the district's website about the census, and it may have been something that was there in the past and it's taken off, but the census is a big issue for equity as well. And I know that the deadline for collection of data is September 30th. And if it's at all possible, I think we may have one or two IT people on the call. There needs to be a banner, or at least, or something on the website reminding parents and others, staff, to complete the. It's got to be done. Maybe even the superintendent can send out a robocall or something, whatever. The census is such an important issue that I'm not sure if enough has been done to help encourage our audience, our community to respond to it. I think that's a huge responsibility of the district. That was one issue. So along those same lines, with the elections coming up on November 3rd, again, we need to. I'm not sure what it is, what the district is doing by way of making sure the Black and Brown community is registering to vote, and they have a voter plan and all that kind of stuff. I mean, again, those are two key issues I'm not hearing enough of. And again, I may just be out of the loop, and there may be things that being done that I should be given credit for, but I'm not aware of it. But the census and elections, I really like for us to focus on it. By the time we meet again next month, the deadline for the census will be gone. But there's still time for us to help impact the upcoming election.
And yes,
Mr. Sanchez, get out of my head today, because that's actually right here under public comments in closing. I talked about the census and voting, and I was going to address that. So thank you. I was actually going to share the numbers that we currently have. So get out of my head. That's all I wanted to say.
I just want to follow a quick comment with what Sanchez was saying. I was looking at the numbers for previous elections, and you take a typical district in Palm Beach County of 60,000 people, residents in there, out of which about 32% of them are qualified voters. And then when you look at the participation in the voting process for the typical election, whether it's local, mayor, or whatever it would be, you have is of the Anglos, you have about 18 to 22% participation in that process. When you go to the African American, you barely have anywhere between 8 to 12%. And then when you go to the Hispanics, it's barely 2.5% participation, even though they qualify to exercise that vote. So again, the concept of education for the process of voting, not to tell them for whom to vote, but the process of the participation in the electoral process is really critical. It's something being part of the American dream, if you want to call it like that. It's being part of the democracy process, and being able to participate, is something that you have the right, and you contribute and you pay your taxes. So it is about participating, regardless of where you're from, as long as you qualify and you have the right to exercise that vote. Thank you.
We're currently, was there any, let me just say, because we're kind of in the public comment section, is there any public comments thus far? Mr. Murray or anyone on the call? Okay, hearing none, we can just continue with that conversation. Just wanted to get that out of the way, but I saw he muted. I just wanted to, that was, again, Mr. Sanchez, that's exactly what I had as my comment, was about the census. Actually emailed the district yesterday with verbiage that they could even use and they can post. I had, like you, noticed the census banner at one point. It was completely removed. I was told that they've been pushing it in the newsletter, their source. And one of the things I said, for months, my source is going to my spam. I can only imagine how many other people's source, where other people's source was going. But I noticed my source going to the spam when I stopped receiving the business newsletter that I used to receive, or business partnership newsletter. And when I went to look for it, I noticed that it was in my spam, and I said, "Oh well, I didn't know my source went in my spam." So I wasn't noticing the census at all. And I emailed communications and the superintendent and the board office. And I had several people that said, oh, it's been pushed. And I mentioned it. I had it in my speech at the board meeting, at the beginning of the board meeting this past Wednesday. It has not been a push, not a visible push. There is a banner on the bottom of the source, all the way at the end. After the parents read about social distancing, they will totally miss the census information. It's the last little widget on the bottom of the newsletter. So it is something that's there every time they send a newsletter, but it's not enough. It's not visible. It's not a actual, it's not the face of the school district. When you go on the website and you see, the survey question, you see this, and you don't see the census. If you go on the district website, you can go on any school website, you don't see anything about the census. So I did request that they perhaps send out a text message just reminding everyone the time is running out. Maybe you got 5 days left or whatever the case may be. And they said they were doing enough. They guess they will do a push. It wasn't even a push on social media, to say the least. And most parents are looking at social media since everything is coming through social media. But just to share the numbers, currently Palm Beach County or Florida is at risk of losing a seat. California is at risk of gaining a seat and a congressional seat, and Florida is at risk of losing one. Palm Beach County is at 63.7% completion rate. So we're at risk of losing a seat, losing funding. And I think, I know we have other priorities, but those priorities are going to be here for the next year or two. These numbers and the impacts of the census are going to be here for the next 10 years. So that was my piece and my say with the census. And Ms. Millen looked like she had her hand raised to say something.
Yes, I was going to say they had a full campaign. There was a committee that was put together. They had a social media campaign. I retweeted out a couple of times the information that was given out, and of course the information on the banner. I can go back to that same group that is promoting that. I think is Chris Garrison was the one that was in charge of making sure that got out, working with communication. So I'll contact Claudia, especially about what you stated in regard, or both of you stated in regard to the deadline, to see about that being promoted, especially since the deadline is approaching. I can send that to Claudia and Chris Garrison as a request from the DDEC committee to put the information out there evidently for the next few days, since the deadline is coming out. I'll send that email to them now.
More robust. I mean, we want to thank them for what they have done thus far, but it just needs to be more on the forefront, a little bit more robust.
Is that information also in all languages? Meaning, the main languages that we have, Spanish and Creole also, so that for these parents. I know for the immigrant population, they're afraid. And why should they?
Yes, I retweeted out. I remember the versions of the different versions when it was on social media, but I'll put that in the email as well.
Okay.
May I have one more comment, please? One of our volunteers who participated in the census, and that person was visiting some of our communities, and the impression in some of the communities where that they were gonna, if they fill out the census form, they were supposed to get paid for filling it out. Yes, I talked to the county commissioners about it, and they were gonna get back to the organization of the different communities that were involved, because they were requesting, it's happening like 3 families in a row, they were expecting in the same community to get paid for filling out that form. So that, again, we go back to the basic, education. What is the census? The census has nothing to do with immigration. The census has nothing to do with ICE. The census, is about make sure that you contribute to the community that you're living here, where you're documented or undocumented. That doesn't really mean anything. It's about contributing to the community. So we need to make sure that they understand very clearly. And that, for me, that was a surprise. And for the county commissioners that I talked to, they were almost fell out of their chairs, we were having this conversation. So we need to make sure that the message is clear.
And this is Graduate for the Children. I know Commissioner Mike Bernard has been on the radio with us because we have a radio program every Saturday from 2 to 3. And he called in every Saturday to really educate the Haitian community about the importance of the census as well as voter registration, because there were rumors going around that another community leader were telling the people not to go out to fill the census because President Donald Trump was going to rally all of them and send them back to Haiti. Therefore, we try to, eliminate that fear right now, because census is next week. That's the deadline. And I know in the city of Liquid this weekend, next weekend as well, the mayor and all the city staff, along with For the Children and other partners, we're having voter registration with the Women League of Voters, as well as the census. And thank God to United Way, they were able to give us a little money to do incentive. And then we're telling people when they come, we'll have a gift for them. But we don't tell them what the gift is, to incentivize them to come and fill out the census. Because right now we're at 51% in Liquid, and that's not good enough.
Yeah. Thank you all.
No, I was just going to say, Ms. Charmaine, I believe 100% in education. We actually had a very, very nice event last week. The Hispanic Chamber did. September 17th and 18th was Citizenship Day. So we were celebrating a lot of Hispanics that became citizens. But also, let's not forget that September 22nd was Voters Registration Day. So we went back to the organization that we had partnered up with and did a very good job in educating Hispanics and having them understand the importance of registering to vote. And also the discussion was around census. And to everyone's point, there is just some miscommunication going around. So I think we just really need to step up and educate. And it wasn't an in-person, by the way. We had the event in person, 6 feet apart, mask. And it was very well received. It was in a very dominated area of Hispanics and just a lot of unknown. And it was great to educate them and share what the importance of all three, which is voters registration, the census, and understanding what a citizen means to them and why it's important now to register to vote. So I just wanted to say that education, I think, is the key.
Thank you so much. I really quickly before we adjourn, I do want to add onto the job description. I'll save that for the next meeting because that's a little cumbersome. Yeah, I'll save it for the next meeting. I had a comment that I had here, but it was nothing that is important. So in the interest of reporting to the board, I will report our meeting from our last month's meeting. I will discuss the racial equity presentation that was given by Ms. Guthrie. I will present or inform them about Keisha Starks giving the presentation on courageous conversation. Again, like every other board meeting, I will write out what I'm going to say verbatim and send it to the committee. And you will get to see, you will get to have the opportunity for input before I present. We will talk about the REI information that Ms. Millen's presentation today, or not presentation, but Ms. Millen's updates. We will talk about courageous conversation. We will also talk about the subcommittees that have been formed, giving them the dates we would already talk about the subcommittee information. We would have that by the next meeting because both of our subcommittee meetings are prior to the board meetings. And then we will also give an update on voter registration since it's in October. So another push and probably thank the district for all their efforts for the census because that deadline would have already passed. Is there anything else that we need to discuss at the school board meeting at this time? And I saw your hand.
Oh, no, it's not about the board meeting. I just want to make sure Cindy has everything she needs to post the information so that the subcommittee meetings can move forward legally. So I just want to make sure I heard the dates, October 8th for the first subcommittee, October 9th for the other subcommittee.
And within 24 to 40 hours, we would get her agendas.
So yeah, agendas that she has to post, yeah. Okay. All right, and so Charmaine, you're sending the you're sending the agenda for your subcommittee, and Mr. Sanchez is gonna send the agenda for the other subcommittee, is that correct?
That's fine.
No, I'm asking, because Cindy has to have both of them to be able to post for each of the meetings.
I think that's fair. Mr. Sanchez, did you want to send an agenda for your subcommittee, or did you want me to did you want to send me the information and I send both of them together? You let me know.
Either way is fine with me. I'll send it to you so you can, as long as that's not a violation of law.
Well, you'll send it through Cindy, and then I can send it the way on the same form or format like this agenda.
Okay. All right. I'll send it to Cindy and send it to you.
All right, perfect. So Cindy, is there anything else that you would need besides the two agendas? And I know you're sending the calendar invites. I just want to make sure you have what you need so that you can post on time.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to try and get the agenda first so we can go ahead and do the calendar invite with the agenda and then also post it at the same time on the district's calendar, the events calendar.
Okay, that was the only question I had. I just want to make sure that those meetings are going to be set up and we're good there.
Okay, and then I think you should be able to also go ahead and submit the calendar, the agenda for October 22nd meeting. I don't think there were any changes. Miss Cindy, if you can send a calendar invite, you can go ahead and send it now. And if it's possible just to change the notification to a week before and 3 days before for everyone, because I did see a few emails that stated that they didn't receive the calendar invite, but I would just implore everyone to, based on the calendar, to go on the calendar and put your own invite in your computers or in your calendars so that you are aware of the next meetings, because things happen and you may not always get a calendar invite. So just do your due diligence by writing it in or putting it in your own personal calendars.
The only thing is, when we were doing that, we got some feedback saying they were getting too many and they got confused. So that's why we're trying to figure it out. We don't know what the status is for next month, whether it's in person or virtual. We're just still waiting on that too. So I can send a calendar invite. I can do it maybe 10 days before. It just won't have an agenda unless we have the agenda.
It's fine. Is there any way that we can go ahead and send out the calendar invites, just a generic calendar invite for the standing meetings? And then and it could be sent now for next month, or not now, but soon for next month. And then maybe that 10-day before, you can send a reminder in the agenda to them by email.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Is there any other questions? We have come to the closing.
One comment.
Yes.
If I could, I apologize. I know we're over time, but I just want to let the committee members know. Number one, Maureen Carter resigned or has retired as our Holocaust Studies person. We have hired a new person. Her name is Kimberly Combs. She started just a few weeks ago. So Kimberly Combs will be the new specialist for Holocaust Studies, which we know is so important from the study that recently came out saying that a lot of students aren't aware of the Holocaust or may even believe that it is a myth. Secondly, this is Hispanic Latino History Month that goes from September 15th to October 15th. And Ms. Trejo is doing a number of activities throughout the district. There is a banner on the district's webpage. If you click on that, it gives you a number of the events that are going on during that month. And finally, the month of October is LGBT History Month. And there will also be a number of things going on next month to honor that. So thank you.
No, thank you. And you said Maureen retired?
Maureen retired. Yeah, she retired back on June 30th. And so we have hired a new specialist who will not take her place, but will continue her legacy.
Yeah, please welcome Ms. Combs on behalf of the DDEC committee. And we would love to meet her at some point. She could stop by and say hello or something to us. All right. Is there any other questions for the good of this meeting or the order? Any other comments? Hearing none. Meeting stands adjourned at 11:05 a.m. It was great seeing everyone. Have a wonderful week and see those on October 8th and see everyone else at the next meeting or the next advisory committee meeting that we sit on together. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.